there's a lot of people feeling what you described. I mean, since you've moved, how has it impacted your psyche? I mean, how do you feel now that you're down there and you left the US? How do you feel about that shift in your life?
Yeah, honestly, it was the best decision I've ever made. I mean, for a long time leading up to that, I really was feeling this like chronic sense of powerlessness.
Hmm.
Like no matter what I did, I was just spinning my wheels, and that I really didn't have control over my freedom or my future or my destiny. And man, I tell you, as soon as I made the decision to leave the US, it was just like a huge weight off my shoulders.
Could I ask you a quick favor? Adventure Freaks is growing, but over 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed yet. If you love tips on affordable living and retiring abroad, hit that subscribe button. It's free and it really helps us grow. Okay, so today we are heading down to the beautiful country of El Salvador. I love this place. Spent some time there with my new friend Eric Summers. Eric, thanks for taking part in the podcast. I appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. Good morning. Good to be here.
Yeah, so you first let's start off. I mean, one of the things that I really enjoyed my time that I spent in El Salvador. I was down there, like I mentioned, about 2005, 2006. I can't exactly remember when, but I spent some time in San Salvador, and I was going to pupusa Rios every night because it's the land of the pupusa. And for the viewers, if you've never had a pupusa, look up pupusa. If you have them anywhere locally in your community, go try one. They are outstanding. But back then, I could get the pupusas for like 25 cents. That's why I was it was so affordable. They're filling and they're so delicious. So I'd
Mhm.
be interested when we get to that point hearing how much they are now. But let's get a little backstory on you, where you're from, and you're from America, where you're from in America, why you left, and how you landed in El Salvador of all places.
Yeah, great. So I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised. Lived there pretty much my whole life. I did get to do quite a bit of traveling, but Austin was always home base. But yeah, over the past decade or so, I've been just seeing kind of the writing on the wall with how it's going in the States. And yeah, I fully expect some pretty hard economic times to be coming around pretty soon. And at first I was of the mindset like I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna be the solution, I'm gonna go out there and protest and scream at the banks and all this. And during Occupy, that's exactly what I was doing. But learned pretty quickly that you just waste your breath and you might as well be screaming into the wind. That's not how change happens. So started focusing on my own projects, started studying like permaculture, investing, sound money, hard money, even like how to filter my own water, process my own waste, generate energy, all these
Wow.
things. And then I was thinking like, okay, where do I actually want to invest my energy into like land and building my long-term systems for my own self-sovereignty? And I had some friends that are Salvadorian. I lived with them in Austin, and they were like, you should just come for a visit, come check it out, see what you think. So that's what I did. I stayed with them for about 2 weeks. And then as soon as I got home, I started making arrangements to liquidate all of my assets, sell as many things, physical things, as I possibly could. And yeah, only like 6 months later, I had all my things packed into my truck and drove to El Salvador. And I've been here ever since.
Wow. So that's impressive. So you literally decided to get rid of everything and just say, this is where I'm going all in. It wasn't even like just 1 foot kind of testing it out. It just sounds like you got rid of
Well,
everything.
yeah, no, I did a 2 week visit And
Yeah.
that was enough for me. It checked all the boxes. The things I was looking for were surf, tropical fruit. The people here are really unique because they went through a really tough time, about a decade ago, 14 years ago or so, where there was literally civil war in this country. And you can really see it in the people's faces and their appreciation for life and in the small things, that right now they're experiencing a level of hope and freedom that is like really novel to them.
Yeah.
And it's just so refreshing to be around. I really think that El Salvador is going through like a renaissance period right now, where they're kind of coming out of the dark ages, and they're have a new opportunity to enjoy their country again. And it's just so nice to be a part of that and get to witness it.
Yeah.
So then the last piece of motivating factor that made me choose El Salvador is Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoiner, and at that time, El Salvador was one of the only countries in the world to legally accept Bitcoin as a currency.
Not sure which country is the best fit for your move abroad? The Ideal Destination Finder takes the guesswork out of the process. It's a customized 22-question assessment that reveals your top 3 destinations based on your lifestyle, priorities, and budget. Instead of spending months researching and second-guessing, you'll get a clear, personalized shortlist to guide your next step abroad. And it could save you thousands by avoiding the wrong move. You can get started now at adventurefreaks.com. Just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the Ideal Destination Finder on the left. Just click it and start the assessment. I also put the link in the description, or you can click the QR code above. Now let's get back to the video. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true, and that's why a lot of people have El Salvador on their radar, and there, like you said, there is a lot of movement now and a lot of interest and a lot of dollars going into El Salvador. And you just sharing your experience in the United States and then deciding based on, the challenges of change in the US to just kind of move in a different direction. There's a lot of people feeling what you described. I mean, since you've moved, how has it impacted your psyche? I mean, how do you feel now that you're down there and you left the US? How do you feel about that shift in your life?
Yeah, honestly, it was the best decision I've ever made. I mean, for a long time leading up to that, I really was feeling this like chronic sense of powerlessness.
Hmm.
Like no matter what I did, I was just spinning my wheels, and that I really didn't have control over my freedom or my future or my destiny. And man, I tell you, as soon as I made the decision to leave the US, it was just like a huge weight off my shoulders. I felt like for the first time, I was really taking control of my life. And yeah, just like the connections I've made being down here, the projects that I'm involved with, everything's aligning. And yeah, I've never felt more powerful in my life.
Yeah, that's great, man. Eric, well, good for you. I mean, good for you. And this is what this podcast is all about. It's helping people see that there are other ways to live, and there are other ways that you can live quite well if you have the courage. A lot of people, they're on the fence, they explore, they don't know if they can do it, they don't know if they have enough money. So that's the importance of this podcast. Another thing you mentioned, about the Renaissance and how El Salvador was once in a civil war. Well, I've heard recently, and I don't know if this is accurate, I don't know if you know too, but El Salvador was once considered a few years ago the most dangerous Latin American country, and now they're calling it the safest Latin American country.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
heard that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've felt it. I mean, I know from everyone that I've told here that yeah, it was only not too long ago that people literally did not feel safe going out at night. Like
Yeah.
once the sun went down, everyone knew that you just go inside. And that's not the case anymore. Everyone here feels like really free and safe to enjoy the nightlife and, go out to the street markets and, share smiles with each other, bring their children, make memories. So yeah, it's really, really refreshing to see.
Yeah. When I was there again, a few years back, like I said, '05, I think it was, in 2005, I was down in the El Centro of San Salvador,
Yep.
and I just went down there to capture a lot of photos. And
Hmm.
it was in the middle of the day. And I was staying in a room in a house, and I took a bus in, and I'm walking around. And I've never had this. I've been all over the world and I've lived overseas. I've been all over the world in cities, towns, and a police officer told me you need to get out of here now. And I go, why? He goes, you got your camera. You need to hide your camera. You need to get out of here now.
Hmm.
And I'm like going, I've heard this before. People tell you not to go. I was going to go look, experience the cathedral and all the other architecture and capture. Then I go down a couple other blocks, and there was another police officer just standing in the middle of the day on the corner, and he
Hmm.
said the same thing to me. You need to get out of here.
Hmm.
You need to get out of here. And I still kind of like, yeah, yeah, right. Okay. And then a third officer, this is all within probably 20 minutes,
Hmm.
said, and he explained back then that they will just, if they see anything of value on you, they'll just shoot you in the daylight in the leg to
Hmm.
wound you, to take everything, to scare you, and then take everything that you have. They don't
Wow.
negotiate. And and I literally at that point, I got really nervous. I jumped on the bus and there was a couple guys that started following me.
Uh-oh.
And I was watching, but nothing happened.
Mm.
Nothing happened. But it just made me like paranoid. I've never experienced that. And I love to see the transformation in what's happened in the last 10 years in El Salvador becoming the safest place in Latin America. It's unbelievable. And I have friends that are Salvadoran that are from Salvador, and they say the same thing that the place is completely transformed. You can walk anywhere and feel comfortable. And
Mhm.
I'm like, it's just tremendous to hear these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So let's start off by you picked an area of El Salvador outside of the capital. Tell us where you picked and why.
Yeah, I'm living here in El Zonte, which is also known as Bitcoin Beach, because this little area, this little town started as the pilot project where they created a circular economy here and got all of the vendors and hotels and little shops and pupuserias to all accept Bitcoin. And the success that it caused here in the area and the tourism that it brought was the pilot program that convinced Bukele to unroll this in the rest of the country and make Bitcoin legal tender for the whole nation.
Okay. So, and describe what El Zonte is, the town. Describe what it's like, where it's located.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty sleepy little beach town, honestly. The next town over is El Tunco, and that one's a bit more of a party scene, nightlife, bars, lots of tourists and young people there. But El Zonte is a little bit quieter. It's a lot of families that live here. We do get a lot of surf tourists here because there's a pretty famous break, but it's all up and down the coast. We've got about 5 or 6 point breaks right in this area that are all about 40 minutes drive from each other. Uh,
Okay.
and yeah, the next one past that is Sunsal, and we just had the you know surf championship at the Sunsal break. So
Okay.
it's pretty popular waves. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Is it a little town? I mean, is it like, do they have a bunch of like cafes or restaurants where, and do people typically live in El Zonte all in this particular area where you can kind of walk everywhere?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it only takes maybe 10 to 20 minutes to walk from one side to the other.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's a pretty small town. It's, very close together. Um, there's a river that runs through the middle and like a pedestrian bridge that you go across. Um, but the side closest to the beach, obviously, the prices have skyrocketed recently. El Zonte is one of the fastest growing in price for rentals and property in the whole country. So, as with anywhere, the locals are getting pushed further away from the beach, and the land across the road, on the inland side of the main road, is the most affordable spots now.
Okay. So how long have you been there now?
I've been here for 2 years, going on three. I just renewed my application for temporary residency for the third time last week.
Okay. So you've been there for quite a while now. So you've seen quite a bit of change already in this
Yeah.
area. Who's moving to El Zonte? Who are the people? Where are they from?
Mhm.
Where are they coming from? And are you seeing this occur weekly, daily, monthly, new people moving in?
Yeah, definitely. Um, the majority of the expats here are from Canada, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Lots of people from the States too, some Germans, some Australians. It's a pretty big mix. Again, like besides Bitcoin, surfing is the main attraction. And there's surfers all over the world. And, a lot of them have gone on surf trips and found how expensive it is to maintain the sport.
Hmm.
And, El Salvador just offers inexpensive, consistent waves almost year round. So, yeah, a lot of them are choosing El Sante or somewhere along the coast here.
All right. So they're coming from all over. It's got quite an international scene, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, we get a lot of Germans too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So to move there, everybody needs a visa. You applied for a specific visa. Explain what visa you obtained, and if there's any income requirements to that are involved in that process to live in El Salvador.
Yeah, so I have what's called a temporary residency,
Okay.
uh, and I need to renew that every year for 3 years, and then
Okay.
I'll be able to apply for permanent residency after that. Um, and yeah, it usually takes between 3 to 5 years before you're approved for a Salvadorian passport. So it's one of the most accessible citizenships that I'm aware of. They can fast track you. I mean, like if you have $1 million, you can buy citizenship right now. Like
Sure.
they have that program available too. I'm not one of those people, so I'm taking my time. But yeah, there are people here that are doing that. So it is attracting high wealth individuals just for that aspect alone.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, people that want to settle down here and build businesses here and want to do it quickly are taking that option. Um, and yeah, as far as requirements, so I specifically have a work visa, so I'm allowed to work in the country. And there's not really any requirements. You just have to also have what's called a NIT, an NIT.
Hmm.
And that's basically like your social security card that
Right.
allows you to start paying into the tax system. And that's pretty much it. The requirements are really low. I have been working with a lawyer because my Spanish is muy poquito. But yeah, if you're a native speaker, it's something that you can do pretty much by yourself, just filling out the paperwork and submitting it to the immigration office.
Eric, there was no income requirement that you had to meet for this temporary residency?
Yeah, I mean, I had to show that I was still spending, that I had like US money basically to spend in the country. Because their biggest concern is that you're like taking Salvadorian jobs, right?
Hmm.
So, they really encourage anyone that's involved in technology or science or innovation. They really are, encouraging more of those people to immigrate to El Salvador. But they're still very protective of like the labor jobs, and they want to make sure that you're not taking a Salvadorian's job, basically.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay. So they didn't did they so there's no number on that. They just want to make sure you're working. You
yeah.
have a position that's not a position that's a physical occupation within El Salvador that you're not taking. Okay. So no, okay. All right, so let's dive into rents now. Everybody that's moving down there needs to find a rental. This is El Zonte is also, I've heard, called Bitcoin Beach. It's become quite popular down there. You said that
Right.
it's changed a lot in the years you've been down there. What can somebody find a rental for down there now, and how do you do that?
Yeah. Airbnbs are really popular down here. That's probably the easiest way to find short-term rentals, or booking.com. Um, as far as like long-term stuff, it's a little bit more difficult. I recommend just like getting down here and start asking around word to mouth. That's how you're going to find the cheapest things for sure.
Okay.
Because yeah, especially around the coast and El Zonte in particular, the prices have really skyrocketed in the past couple of years. Um, so yeah, it's almost comparable to the US at this point. Even with like food prices, like
Hmm.
El Salvador is on the dollar. Like we don't
Yes.
have, it used to be the colones a long time ago, and El Salvador has been using the dollar as their main currency for, over a decade. And now they've just added Bitcoin. So
Hmm.
everything that's priced in dollars is going to be, pretty comparable to prices you're going to pay in Western countries,
Hmm.
except in like really rural areas is where it's still really cheap.
Okay. Can you give us an idea what rentals start for there?
So right now I'm staying at a place I pay $500 a month. So pretty typical. But again, I'm in one of the nicer parts of the country. So yeah, when I was first living here, actually for the first year, I was did like a work stay trade. So I was volunteering at a school, and they gave me a room there for free in exchange for my teaching the kids.
Oh,
So
nice.
that was a really good deal. Yeah. Yeah, but
Is
yeah,
that a one bedroom that you have, Eric?
yeah, yeah, it's like a shared space. So we've got like a kitchen here, there's two bedrooms, and then there's a main house right there.
Okay. All right. So it's now is that common? I mean, for most people that just kind of get down there and knock around, they'll be able to identify and find something in that price range.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So starting out at around 500.
Yeah, I mean that's on a high end too. Like you can find things for like 300, probably the lowest.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to have air conditioning. It's probably going to be like a shared space situation where you have like a room, but like your kitchen and living spaces are
Yeah.
shared bathroom, that sort of thing. So yeah, I would say 500 a month is probably like mid. And it goes way up from there too. There's a lot of really nice places to stay around here too that you can definitely spend some money on.
Yeah. So how do you pay your rent per month?
Mhm.
And here's the other question because this is an area that basically has legalized the use of Bitcoin. A lot of people all over the world, unless you are a Bitcoiner like you, it's confusing. It's volatile.
Mhm.
I have Coinbase and I might have maybe $200 on my Coinbase. But I mean, do you ever pay? Can you pay your rent with Bitcoin? How does it work? And can you use Coinbase down there to actually purchase things?
Yeah. I mean, if you have a Bitcoin wallet, then you can spend your Bitcoin here in the country. Coinbase isn't the best because they're going to charge you fees on every transaction. They also store your identity. They expect you to pay taxes anytime that there's a sale. They expect all of that information to be going to the IRS. So there's other options, especially down here when you're paying for like day-to-day things like a coffee or gas or groceries. We use Lightning. So that's a layer two protocol on top of Bitcoin. And there's a lot of Lightning apps out there. The local one down here is called Blink, and almost everyone uses it, but there's a lot of competitors as well. And yeah, it's really easy. It's as simple as like scanning a QR code. If I'm at the grocery store, they'll type in the total of my groceries and show me a QR code. And then I hold up my phone and I scan the QR code. And then I see a little check mark appear and the Bitcoin has already sent. So it's
Wow.
pretty much as fast as using a credit card.
That is
And
amazing to me. So that's no different than like Coinbase.
yeah,
It's just a
yeah,
different type, and it's not logging your personal information. It sounds like. So it's actually, there's more freedom in using that application.
definitely. Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, here's my confusion. Like, I use Coinbase, but then you said if you have a wallet.
Mhm.
So I don't know, is Coinbase a
Yeah,
wallet?
Coinbase is a wallet. Yeah. Anything
Okay.
that stores your Bitcoin keys is a wallet. The thing is Coinbase operates much like a traditional bank in that when you deposit your money, you're trusting that that money is staying there. When really everyone knows that they're loaning out that money and making interest on your money. And that if everyone tries to withdraw at the same time, that's when
Yes.
we get a bank run and it causes problems, right?
Yeah,
That's when
yeah,
banks collapse. So the thing with Bitcoin is, we encourage people to custody their own Bitcoin, which means you are in control of it and no one can take it. And that's where the real self-sovereignty comes in, is you are in control of your financial system. You don't have to ask permission to spend your money to some other third party. You don't have to worry that they're making bad investments with your money and that bank could collapse, and then it's
yeah.
just a game of musical chairs. You don't want to be the last one trying to pull your money out because it's not going to be there.
Right.
And the other thing is a lot of this money is being invested in the military industrial complex. And it's this ability of the United States to print infinite money that allows them to fund these proxy wars. So
Mhm.
a big reason that I'm in Bitcoin is because I just don't want my labor, my life energy, whatever currency that's in, to be tied up in, these unjustified wars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Well, that's so then you down so to have more control over this, you're using an app called Blink, and that's what people are using down there, and it's much better what you're saying than Coinbase.
yes, to be clear, Blink is still a custodial app. So they are also holding your Bitcoin. But so that I only keep a small amount in Blink that I use for like daily purchases because it's fast. It's on the
Okay.
Lightning Network.
I see.
So yeah, if you use Coinbase, they don't have Lightning, built into Coinbase. So you're doing what's called an on-chain transaction, and those
Hmm.
can take up to 10 to maybe 30 minutes, depending on where you are in the block and how quickly your block gets added to the blockchain and your transaction confirmed. So for fast purchases, I recommend a Lightning wallet. There are custodial Lightning wallets like Phoenix, but for new users and stuff like that are new to Bitcoin, I recommend just having a Blink wallet or some other hot wallet similar to that, where you're keeping just a small amount. If it disappears or something, you're not going to be wrecked. And then keeping your life savings, like your nest egg, in Bitcoin in a self-custodied wallet where you are maintaining your 12 or 24 word seed phrase. And
Yeah.
then you know that no one can steal your Bitcoin and it's under your control. And you can use any of these other wallet services to recover that Bitcoin. So you're not beholden to a single bank or a single company or a single Bitcoin wallet service. if any of them disappear, as long as you have your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, you can recover your Bitcoin using the other wallet services.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing this because I'm really a Bitcoin dummy. I've just dabbled in it a little bit. Like I said, I might have $200 on my phone in the Coinbase. So I know who to come to now, Eric, if I need. So is this what you do? Do you help people? What do you do for work down there?
Yeah, I'm a Bitcoin consultant and I'm
Okay.
also a teacher. So I do private tutoring and I work at a school.
Okay. Awesome. So you're are you doing ESL teaching or
Yeah, I teach English to local kids, but I also work at a private school that's mostly for English speaking expats. And I teach them mathematics, astronomy, and robotics.
okay. All
Mhm.
right. Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that information. Okay, so let's get back to where we were. So you can't, so you're going around, you're using your phone and you do purchase like coffee, groceries, things on Bitcoin. That is really spectacular.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me, actually, just amazing because people still, I don't think, do that a lot in the US, even a lot of the Bitcoiners here. So,
Yeah, definitely. Most Bitcoiners see it as an investment, and
yes,
they just hold on to it.
yes,
And while that is a good thing to do long term, being a participant in the market is what makes it more accessible and more of like a currency for which is what it's intended to be. Uh,
yeah,
if everyone just sits on it, then it's not an active market, right?
yeah,
So it needs our participation. The way I feel about it is every time that I spend my Bitcoin to an individual, I'm literally paving the path for that person to get off of the fiat system and become
yes.
self-sovereign on their own financial freedom.
Okay, one more thing before we get back into the rentals and utilities.
Yeah. No,
I
I,
do,
I
I
could I
do
could
get
talk about
excited.
Bitcoin all the time, man.
I do get excited talking about this stuff because it's fascinating. It's so fascinating to me. But
Yeah.
there's so many coins out there. Bitcoin's the most famous, but there's
Mhm.
also Ethereum, there's also XRP, there's all these other different coins.
Sure.
What are the top three you recommend that people should have if they decide to invest in crypto? What are
Yeah.
the top three?
Top three would be Bitcoin, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Bitcoin to me has proven itself. The blockchain is solid. And yeah, there's really if you know how to custody your own Bitcoin, there's really no risk.
Okay.
Bitcoin is going to continue to appreciate in price because it's inherently deflationary. And
Hmm.
pretty much every other cryptocurrency out there is just like the dollar in that the company that created it can issue new currency at will, as in
Yeah.
they can inject more coins into the market whenever they want. And that's the thing that is devaluing the US dollar is the more of dollars they inject into circulation, the more it hurts somebody saving money in a mattress at home. Like that
Right.
money is literally just like evaporating away and
Hmm.
they don't even know it. That's why inflation is called a hidden tax and
Yes.
is one of the most dangerous ones because yeah, they're literally debasing the currency and anyone that's saving for their future, they're literally being robbed of their money and it's being consolidated into the people that are purchasing assets.
Hmm. All right. Well, thanks again for sharing all this really incredible information. All right. So getting back to rentals, I was going to ask you, are the utilities included in any of those? If
Mhm.
not, what are utilities? What do they run you per month?
Yeah, we have pretty cheap electricity here, but again, it depends on the area. Most of your rentals, it's going to include everything in the rental price,
Okay.
electricity, Wi-Fi, water. If you're doing a short-term rental, that's all included. Um, but yeah, it's pretty typical here. Like we have cheap electricity, but it's not, you know, it's pretty on par with the rest of the United States.
Hmm.
Um, We are working on that though. So there are projects for like volcano energy. Like Bukele is trying to tap into the geothermal resources of El Salvador. You know, we are right on the ring of fire. So almost all of the country is in a volcanic zone. We
Hmm.
have many active volcanoes in the country.
Yes.
Um, and you know, this country is known as the land of the hammocks because sometimes the ground you're standing on feels like you're in a hammock for a little bit. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of energy here and it just needs to be tapped into.
Okay. So where you're staying, where you pay 500 a month, does that include the utilities?
Yeah.
It does. Okay. Now, do you know if it does not include utilities, what people would pay for like Wi-Fi per month there?
um yeah, it's like 20-30 bucks for
Okay.
Wi-Fi a month. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you
The
pay
thing,
for? Go
one thing
ahead.
that I have noticed that is noticeably cheaper is like an internet plan, like a cellular data plan for
Okay.
yourself.
Yeah.
I was paying probably 80, maybe $90 for like AT&T in the
Yeah.
States per month. And here I'm paying $12 a month.
Wow. That's great.
Yep.
12 bucks a month in El Salvador for a cell plan. Good deal.
Yeah. They are not trying to gouge anyone on the data plans.
All right. So where do you buy your groceries at? Do they have markets? Do they have grocery stores out there in El Zonte?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of recent development just since the time that I've been here. We have a brand new supermarket. It's called Super Selectos. That's kind of like the HEB, you know, brand name grocery store chain in El Salvador. And so we have a brand new one. It's maybe a 20-minute drive from where I'm at right here. Before that, it took me about an hour to drive to the nearest grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been a big change, way more convenient now that that new one is up and running. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, there's been a lot of development along the coast. Yeah, just within the past 2 years.
Okay. How much would you estimate that you pay or budget per month on your groceries?
Yeah, it's probably like, you know, I'm probably spending about $100 a week. So yeah, like $400 a month, something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, and you're a young guy and you're a surfer, so you probably eat a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I go out to eat a lot too. You know, I definitely don't cook all my own meals. So, yeah.
Okay, and then, so that's just you buying groceries and eating at home is 400. What do you think you budget per month to go out and eat? And how much would a meal, like a Salvadoran meal, just at a local mom and pop place cost to go like get a lunch or a meal somewhere?
Yeah, man, there's a huge range. Like some of the local places here, you can get a plate of food for lunch for $3.50.
Okay, yeah,
Yep. And that's like rice, a salad, and a piece of chicken. And
yeah.
that's pretty typical um, lunch around
Okay.
here that you can find, you know, from local Salvadorians.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, it just goes up from there. Like we've got really nice restaurants too, where you're looking at, you know, $20 for, you know, one person,
Yeah,
way up to $50, you know.
yeah. It's funny when you say, yeah, we have really nice restaurants where you have to pay 20.
Right?
You
Yeah,
know, you go
that's
anywhere in the
just anywhere
US,
you
like
go in the US.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 100 easy for even
Yeah.
just one person.
Yeah.
That's yeah, so it's like that's great. Okay. So how often would you say you go out per month?
You know, probably like 3 times a week.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And do you typically do you go by yourself or do you connect with other friends or expats that you've connected with?
Yeah, both. You know, I like to take myself out sometimes, and you know, I get invited out to other things too. Especially
Hmm.
in the Bitcoin community here, there's always like meetups happening and even like informal events where, you know, let's just hang out and not talk about Bitcoin, that sort of thing. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I was just at a poker game last night with some friends.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's one of the big concerns for like expats when they move to a place. Sometimes they move to a place where they feel isolated and they don't speak the language, and there's nobody in these areas that it's not a big, heavy expat area, but it sounds like El Zonte is just the opposite.
Yeah, I would say El Zonte is very easy for English speakers to assimilate into. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is great, but it could also prevent you from actually learning
It's
Spanish.
true. It's true. I am guilty of that. Yeah. I'm learning my Spanish, but yeah, because I'm not forced to speak it in most of my social interactions. Yeah,
Yes.
you have to put more effort into making time to dedicate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Eric, how do people get around? I think sounds like it's very walkable, like you
Mhm.
explained, but you have a vehicle because you drove your vehicle down there, you said, correct?
Yep, that's right.
Now, here's one of the things that I've heard. And there are certain countries in Central and South America that if you drive, the import tax is so high that it's not worth taking your car, or they don't allow it because the car is not at a specific year that's
Yeah.
required. What can you share about that?
Yeah, if your car is over 8 years, you are not allowed to import it.
Okay.
Can still drive down here. Your car is subject to the same restriction as your tourist visa. So that's usually 180 days, and you and your car need to be out of the country within 180 days. And you can't just go to Guatemala or Nicaragua either, because these three countries are in kind of a triad where you have to leave all three of them in order to renew your visa.
Okay.
Yeah. I did pay my import taxes because I knew I wanted to keep my truck here, and I knew I didn't want to deal with the hassle of finding a reliable vehicle down here,
Okay.
because I have heard horror stories about people buying, used vehicles that, honestly, most of the vehicles down here have been through an accident, and that's how
Hmm.
they end up down here. And then they piece them back together with other parts, and then, yeah, it's easy to buy something that just doesn't last and ends up breaking down. So, yeah, I really like my truck. I've got a Toyota Tacoma 2019, and it was the perfect vehicle to drive down in and the perfect vehicle for here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I bit the bullet, paid the taxes, and now it is legal to stay in the country.
Yeah. What was the import tax on that vehicle?
Like 20%. So yeah, it's pretty steep.
So when
Yeah.
you say 20% of what, the value of it?
Yeah, they look up like the market value of that vehicle and charge
Okay.
you based on that.
So, and what was the value at the time? If it's
Like 35.
35,000.
Yeah.
So you had to pay 7,000 bucks.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people just say, you know what, I'm going to sell everything and I'll buy a used vehicle when I get there because I just don't want to pay that kind of an import tax.
Right.
It's,
Yep.
but you're like going, I love my Tacoma. I'm keeping it.
Yep. That's right.
And it's a great vehicle, man. Those things will run forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But most people down here either rent a vehicle or rent a motorbike. Like renting little scooters or motorcycles is really common around here, especially down by the coast. While you can walk around your beach town, each town is pretty separate. Like you wouldn't want to walk between, El Zonte and El Tunco, for example. So yeah, you're kind of restricted to driving from
mhm,
town to town to move around the coast.
mhm.
Um, and then San Salvador, the capital city, is like a 40-minute drive from here.
Okay, so not far.
Right.
How much does it cost to rent a scooter?
Per month, probably like 40, 50
Okay,
bucks. Yeah.
okay. And I suppose if you say, okay, I've been here for a month or two and I've been renting and I like it, I'm gonna stay, you could probably find some pretty decent buys on scooters as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Is there public transportation down there for people
Yeah.
that want to just d jump on a bus
Mhm.
and rather than drive, how much would it cost, excuse me, to get to the capital, San Salvador, from El Zonte on a bus?
Yeah, there's a surprisingly functional public transportation system that most of the locals do rely on heavily. So there's buses going up and down all the time. Um, some of them look like a bus and you can tell it's a bus, and then other ones are like a truck with just stuffed with a bunch of people in the back. Um, so yeah, like as far as how routine and reliable they are, it's great, but they're crowded. Like you got to pile in.
Yeah.
And they're also super cheap. Yeah, you can get up to the city for like less than $1.
Okay. Yeah. Are those the chicken buses that you're referring to?
They call them that, but there's no chickens on them. I mean,
Right.
there are other ones with chickens on them, but those
Yeah.
ones aren't buses. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like old, colorful school buses that,
There's those for sure. And then there's also what looks just like a farm truck with like a grill on the back, like
yeah.
a kind of a fence, like a grate that you might like transport some cattle in. And there'll be like 30 people all like packed in with each other. So you see that very commonly also.
Hmm. That sounds like fun to me
Yeah.
because you get to hang out, interact, and
Right.
that's always been exciting for me.
Hmm.
Okay, the next thing on our list, Eric, is fun and entertainment in El Zonte. Okay,
All
it's
right.
one of the surf places. You're a surfer.
Right.
Okay, so we know people surf there. What do you do for fun? What else can you do for fun there?
Yeah, there's a lot of hiking. We've got volcanoes, multiple in the country. There's one really close to the capital of San Salvador as well. So that's probably one of the more popular ones. There's also Santa Ana. Some of them, the crater at the top, there's like water. There's like literally a lake at the top of the volcano.
Hmm.
Um, we also have a really large lake here that people go to and rent like jet skis or rent Airbnbs along the coast of the lake. Um, we also have just kind of up in the mountains is a totally different climate zone than down by the beach. So, it's really cold at night. It's like comfortably cool during the day. That's where all the coffee and cacao is being grown. So, just like visiting these plantations, seeing how coffee and cacao is made in the artisanal way. And there's also like some really nice hot springs up there where, the volcanic activity is heating the water and you get these really nice therapeutic sulfuric waters that people go and just bask
Hmm.
in for a day. So that's a really nice thing to do.
Nice. Now you mentioned there's areas where you can go and it's a cooler climate, really drops down in the evenings. It's so some people that are watching, actually many people, especially the retirees, many of them are heat sensitive. They don't want to live in the really hot, humid environments.
I understand.
So is there a place where it's just cooler in the mountains where there's a quaint town or a really cool
Absolutely.
town you can
Absolutely.
what's the name of these places or the towns?
Yeah, one of them is Ataco. Concepcion de Ataco is a really nice old style, like Spanish style colonial city town that has not changed in, the past 100 years. Lots of artisans there. It's very quiet, touristy for like shopping, and yeah, like drinking some original cacao and coffee.
Okay, and that's cooler. Do you know what the temperatures are year round there?
No, I mean it still fluctuates, but yeah, it's so much cooler. It like down here by the beach, we regularly hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit,
Okay.
and you will not hit that up in Ataco. Yeah, it stays in like 60 to 80s.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Okay,
yeah.
so it's like an eternal spring type climate there.
Yeah, I mean it gets cold there too. Like, yeah, it's
Okay.
it's up there. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other cities like that have a
Yeah,
similar
another
climate?
one is Sushi Toto, um, and that's further east. I haven't actually been there yet, but I hear really good things about it.
That's
Mhm.
good information, and it hits 100 degrees on a regular basis where you're at.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're in mid 90s right now.
Okay. Does it
Yeah.
ever get cooler during the winter months where it's, 70s, 80s or?
Yes, it does. Not like consistently,
Hmm.
but we do have like some cool days, especially after a nice rain. Um, but yeah, the seasons here are really different. Like
Hmm.
our summer is the dry season and the winter is the wet season.
Hmm.
And that's pretty much all we got is just like rain or no rain.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Great information. And the last thing we have, Eric, is healthcare. What is everybody's interested in healthcare? How do you access it? Does El Salvador have a public healthcare system? What's your opinion of the system itself, the quality of the healthcare, and is it affordable?
Yeah. I don't know if there's like a national healthcare system. I don't think there is. But the healthcare is very affordable. So, yeah, the quality of care is really good, and it's something that most people can afford. Like they're not trying to price gouge you on healthcare. So, yeah, I haven't really gone to the hospital myself. I had dengue. That was the one time that I like
Okay.
almost went to the hospital. Is I
Yeah.
had dengue. So that's still common down here. Just mostly fever symptoms.
Yeah.
But yeah, the quality is pretty good, and the price is affordable for sure.
Yeah, do you have any idea? Are there like insurance plans that people can access down there? Are there
Yeah.
insurance companies that say, yeah, we can set up a plan for you
Mhm.
um, through this Salvadoran company and it'll give you comprehensive coverage? Have you looked into that at all or have any idea what?
I personally have not.
Okay.
I haven't even insured my vehicle. Like,
Yeah.
I'm one of these people that, like, I am my insurance policy, and
Okay.
to me, paying an insurance company is really just betting that you're going to make a mistake or that something bad is going to happen to you. So, I'm sure that is acceptable for some people. I'm just not one of those people. I would rather keep my money in my pocket and be able to pay for my mistakes when they happen. Um, so yeah, I'm just not an insurance type of guy. I would rather just keep my Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Well, thanks for sharing that. Well, that's everything, Eric. Is there anything else you can think of that we didn't discuss that could be helpful for the viewers considering moving to El Salvador?
Not really. I mean, yeah, the beach is hot, but yeah, it's nice and cool up in the mountains. So, yeah, a lot of people buy property higher up and then, do their day trips down to the beach. Um, but yeah, I think we covered all the bases.
Yeah. Have you had any surprises, things that you didn't expect
Mhm.
living there in the past 3 years?
I am surprised all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's just like the pace of development is really surprising.
Yeah.
Just like the Salvadorian people surprise me. There's still a lot of like signatures of the third world here of poverty, big families, um, 4 to 5 people stacked on top of one motorbike driving down the road
Yeah.
carrying a sack of potatoes, like um, so yeah, there's still a wide variety of um, yeah of incomes and financial status. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because it's like uh, um, there's such a community oriented feel to El Salvador, and and the people rely on each other, and they're close knit,
Hmm.
and it's really endearing to experience that being a culture like that and feel that because
Hmm.
it is very different than what we experience in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it feels Like the people here are very resilient. And honestly, I think if something catastrophic were to happen in the US, that El Salvador will be relatively insulated from that because the people here, you know, their lifestyles have been existing the way that they are for a long time.
Hmm.
And they know how to feed themselves. They know how to grow food down here. They know how to take care of their kids and, make ends meet with what little that they have. Um, so yeah, the Salvadorian people are very strong and they're full of hope. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be here witnessing it.
All right. Well, Eric Summers, thank you again, man, for doing this. This has been
Welcome.
fantastic. I love El Salvador. Thanks for sharing all of this information for
My
our
pleasure.
viewers. Yeah, I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. All right.
All right, man. Well, you have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Ray. Good to be here.